Hey guys, we're live on the moon. It's the 2nd of October, a Sunday night, 1914, 7:14 p.m. The sun is still in the sky, it's just setting, and I'm trying to grab this moon while it's as high as it is. And I just started out, and I think I ran into something really, really strange. I think it's going to be a good session, guys. We got a pretty much in focus. It looks remarkably good. And look what I've uncovered. I've got one, two, three rather high protrusions from the center of this crater, whatever they are. It's probably some kind of a base. And then look over here, we got another protrusion. But the thing that really got me is this thing right over here. It just looks really, really strange in the light. I don't know what it is. I'm going to try to bring up the exposure a little bit. Just, it looks odd. It's not flat. It kind of it's got a inward, it looks like a cave complex is what it looks like. And see, it looks like there's a cave right there. I decided to go early, so let's begin our survey. It depends on how it goes, if the moon stays good or not. I might try to do a Barlow after I do an initial survey of this. Here you can see some really, really incredible mountains. And it looks to me like there's a crater right on the top of that mountain. See that mountain? If you were a spaceman in this Mar, in this sea, and walked right up there, it looks to me like it would be just a real high mountain that you would be looking up at. Let's change the exposure a bit. I hope you've had a good Sunday. I spent most of the day watching Sherlock Holmes. It's a great way to get my mind off the worries of the world. Look at these fantastic colors. I turn up the brightness just a bit, and you can see these things here. I want to kind of talk about these for just a second. I've seen these before, guys. These are sticking up in the air, and to me they look like they have little lights on the top of them. See the different coloration right there at the top? There's one right here. Looks like a snake-like thing, like a tunnel with a light on top of it. I've seen these before. I don't know what they are, but they look very strange, and you can clearly see the shadow right there? There's something, a different coloration right on the top. It's like a beacon. And here's a mountain range with 1, 2, 3, 4 things sticking right up in the air. I don't know what they are, and if you look close enough, guys, you can see like a slash that caused some kind of a, I'm not sure what it is, but it looks like something hit the ground and see, it's starting to get out of focus. Let me just see if I can work the focus a little bit. See there, it's out of focus. That's probably as good as we can get right now. But you can see a lot of the detail over here in this mar. And look at that weird thing. That is clearly not under that mar, under that sea. That is on top. It's like a mountain, a ridge line, whenever the water or whatever it was came in. And look at this thing right here. It looks like a perfect square. It's probably just a shadow. I think we're going to have a good session. Now, don't you truly believe and feel that you're like Columbus discovering a new world? Every time you look at the moon, the shadow line is in a different way and the light's going to hit it in a different angle. So you're always going to see something brand new on the moon. And the only way to watch these videos are in high definition on a TV set if you got it. Look at that mountain range. And then it's like a crater, an old crater right there that kind of took part of that mountain range out. Something else sticking up in the air. And let's go down and look at the end. Okay, now let's work our way up the circumference. Let me adjust the exposure down a little bit so we can see some of the detail. That's about right. Isn't that beautiful? I know it weaves in and out of focus, but that's just the way it is on the moon. And you cross your fingers and you look for times when it is in focus to see the details. Isn't that beautiful? You might be able to hear the dogs, and there's some birds chirping. It's not dark yet. It's still light, dusk. I think that's just absolutely stunning. think that's that crater we were looking at the other day that something was, I'm not sure what it is. Let me turn the exposure down just a little bit. So you can just, it brings out a little more detail. If I have the exposure up too bright, then this thing washes out. I've turned off automatic exposure because I get more control over it. It's staying remarkably in focus. And you said to yourself, well, the moon doesn't have any color. NASA said, well, it's just a gray dead planet. Huh, they're hiding a lot of secrets, guys. Look at these mountains. See the details of these mountains? It's peppered with little craters. And look at the color variation over here, and then you roll into and over to here. It's just it's a riot of color, guys. You probably had no idea that the moon was this beautiful. I know I didn't. Now look there, there's that light we were looking at yesterday, right next to the ferret C. Matter of fact, let's just go up. Continue our look at this. That looks like a dome with something sticking right out of the middle of it. I mean, I don't know what it is. That's what it looks like. See, I know sometimes when I look at it, when it gets to you, I lose a little detail, but not much, because I take the raw files. Let me adjust the exposure a little bit. Too much. See that right there? It looks like something sticking up like a tower. Now, we were all over this last night, but we didn't see that. Every time you go to the moon, you're looking at it at a different angle with different light, and you see things differently. Now, isn't that beautiful, guys? You can see why I call it the ferret. You got two beady eyes and a little whisker, and then the mouth. There are certain times that these mountains right here, this mountain range, with a valley of sorts, looks like clouds, and you can see these canyons. See, if you were a little spaceman walking around up there, you'd be in a canyon, like the Grand Canyon, walking around. Just like the Grand Canyon, a deep, deep, deep canyon in a mountain range. These are some of the most stunning pictures I think I've ever seen on the moon. The moon is higher. And that's why I started this when I did. Started it a little early. As the moon goes down, it's basically going to set, and when it sets, and as it sets, we'll lose a lot of the detail because of the atmospherics. Let me adjust exposure. I've always wondered about these. I've seen close-ups of some of these craters where they're just a big pile of rocks, but how in the hell did they get a big pile of rocks in the middle of the crater? That should have been wiped out. And you can see the large number of craters in the distance. There's another sea over there. It's a beautiful moon tonight. And that looks like more than just a pile of rocks. That looks like some kind of a complex. You can see right angles. Looks like structures, like a little mini city. Maybe when I put the Barlow on, we can see more detail. Turn the exposure down. Now just look at that. Isn't that absolutely beautiful? Remember that gouge that we were looking at yesterday, that long gouge? There it is again in a different light. And look there, isn't that interesting? Those are those rectangular buildings or structures that we saw yesterday. And you can see they're still there. Maybe when we look at it with the Barlow, it'll look more interesting. Turn up the exposure. A little bit too much. No, I'm not using a moon filter. If I did, it would subdue the color. I wanted to bring out the color. I know there is color variation on the moon from one place to another. Let me turn up the exposure. Absolutely stunning, guys. Another moon base of sorts. And if you look, I've seen this, I haven't mentioned it before, but there's something right there. I have no idea what it is. It's a it's kind of like a mountain range inside that crater, or it's a complex of structure. Like there's a hornet nest crater, there's a hornet nest crater. This focus control I have does allow me to get it better in focus. So I'm optimistic that when I put the Barlow on, I might be able to do something with it. There we got some kind of a structure right there in the middle and one right there at the side. Got a big crater right there. And we got three smaller ones. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row. Some beautiful stuff, guys. And what in the hell is that? Looks like an L-shaped building with something on the top. I don't know. Let me see if I can get her better in focus. It's out of focus. You can see it's waving in and out of focus. It's hard to adjust focus like that. And there's where we started. See that thing? It looks really, really strange. Looks like a cave. And it just looks pretty strange. And see that right there? That looks strange too. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to pause this and we're going to just see what I can do with this Barlow. It's a Teleview PowerMate 2.5 Barlow. So hang with me. Let's see what we can do with this thing. Okay, guys, this is my Barlow. We're going to do a shadow line survey. Now, I don't know if you remember where we were, but this crater right here was below, and there was a sea right here. And it's really not too bad for a Barlow because I'm not losing as much light as I would with a normal Barlow. And if I go, I'm trying to find that one crater I was looking at that had that strange thing in it. No, I don't think that's it. I think that's part of the mountain range. There's that crater, kind of a marker crater for me. And I'm going to go north a little bit, which is actually going south. And now you're really getting close, guys. No doubt about it. I think I'm too far. Let me go over to the shadow line. And try to find that crater that had that weird stuff in it. I might not be able to find it right away. Frame of reference is not as good. Just pause and look at this thing here. Got one big crater and two smaller craters and a little crater. I know it's going to be, when I go back and look at the video, I'll be able to see where I was. Let's just do this. Let's go down. Let's do a survey now, and let's just go down and see what we can see. There it is right there, guys. That's the weird crater I was looking at. Remember, it was connected to another crater. There's the other crater. See the shadow right there between the connection. And I said there was a cave or something right there. And then it looked like an eye. Just something weird. Okay. Let's just do a survey now like normal, except it's going to be in with this 2.5 times Barlow. It's going to be harder to see, but you're going to see more. And to get the perspective, what I'll do is I'll do this survey up and down the shadow line. I want to stop right here if I can. And let's just see if we can get it in better focus or not. It's out of focus. I think that's it. This was that mountain that I was talking about that had a hornet's nest crater. And let's go over to the Mar and too dark. Okay, now let me try to focus on that right there, see? For that. Out of focus. Out of focus. Need more light. I think that's probably as good as I can get. Let's just go down the shadow line and see. This is not going to be as good as I can get with this Barlow because the moon is still not very bright. But we might see something. Now look at that. That's kind of strange. We'll bring it back into the picture. See that right there? I don't know what it is. It just looks like something abnormal. Turn up the exposure control just a bit. The thing is with a Barlow, oh, remember I was showing you these things right here, guys. And I indicated there were 4 kind of antennas or whatever they were sticking up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go north of there and see if we can see those things sticking in this sea. I don't see them. Saw 2 things sticking up in the air that to me looked like they had lights on the end. No, it's just not very good. Let me try one more time to go into a better focus, otherwise I'm going to take it off. See, it's just not, I can't quite get it in focus. Okay, I'm going to pause this and put take the Barlow off. It's just not bright enough right now. And let's do another survey without the Barlow and then we'll shut it down. Hang with me. Well, I saw what the problem was. The moon was starting to get a little bit darker. Atmospheric clouds were coming in. and that's why the Barlow's got to be used pristine conditions, very bright moon. Let's go back up here and look at what we were looking at. We were clearly looking at that one crater right there, closer, and this crater right here with a kind of gully between the two, and then this like cave system and a thing that looks like an eye. You can see the it's not quite as good as before, and look at the whatever is in there. Let's do this. Let's do one more pass of this thing, and then we'll shut it down. I want to see the outer circumference one more time. Let's go down slowly and just see if we can, in a different light, look at it in a different way. Now look at that right there, guys. What is that? That looks like a, it's not, it looks like a pot with something in it. It's kind of a square thing. And you can see how the moon is starting to get a little jumpy too. I told you that it will get worse as the evening wears on, and that's why I went out there and turned it on right away to get the best look at the moon. And you can see it did give us our best shot early on. Isn't that strange the way it so I just turned the exposure all the way down. The moon is not as bright as it was when we started. See the blue down there. I don't know about you, but I find the exploration of the moon a fascinating thing. And I truly do feel that as time marches on, we're going to see some very, very unusual things on the moon. See how it's changed color too? That's because there's not as much light. See, if I turn the exposure up, and I got the contrast and the brightness down quite a bit, you could still see that light right there for sure. But you can clearly see that the moon, at least in this session, looked the best at the beginning. Even when I went and showed you with the Barlow, I mean, as soon as I put the Barlow in, it looked pretty good, all in all, and then it quickly got worse, and then now you can see why, because the rest of the moon is just changing. It's getting lower in the sky. It's not as bright. It's not as bright. There's not as much contrast. There's not as much color revealed. And it makes it for a difficult to see detail kind of moon. But we got to see quite a bit of detail at the very beginning. Right now it's around 8 o'clock, And I started some 40 minutes ago or so. Isn't that beautiful? Absolutely beautiful. But you can see from this video the difference in quality just in the time that we've been looking at the moon. Now the antithesis is going to occur later on. The moon will actually start rising in the sky, and it'll get better as the evening progresses. But in the early part of the month, the moon is setting in the sky, and it's going to get worse as the evening progresses. So your best bet on a moon early in the month is definitely to do the moon right at or before sunset. And I think that's where we're going to end it up, right where we started. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun. And I hope you have a terrific week, guys. In the meantime, clear skies, guys.